I found a shortcut behind my gym. It saved me 15 minutes. But some shortcuts don't save time. They just decide who gets out. My name is Joseph, and before I tell you what happened, I need you to understand something about that phase of my life. I wasn't chasing danger. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was just trying to be normal. I was 23, living with my parents in a quiet suburban pocket outside Aurora, Illinois, the kind of place where every street looks like it was copied and pasted. Same trees, same driveways, same neighbors who wave but don't really know you. I had just landed an internship at a logistics firm closer to downtown Chicago, an actual office, an actual badge, an actual manager who liked using words like initiative and urgency like they were oxygen. The internship was supposed to be a stepping stone, but it felt more like a test, because being an intern meant you never wanted to be the guy who said no. Hey, Joseph, real quick, can you update this spreadsheet? Hey, Joseph, can you sit in on this call and take notes? Hey, Joseph, before you leave, can you help me clean this up? It was always before you leave. It was always real quick, and it was never real quick. On paper, my shift ended at 5. In reality, the day ended when they stopped needing you, and they always needed you. Then came the commute. I didn't have a glamorous city life. I lived in the suburbs, and the office was far enough that every evening felt like a countdown timer. Some days I took the train part way and caught a bus. Other days my dad let me use the family car if he didn't need it. Either way, the return trip was a messy blend of waiting, traffic, red lights, construction cones that never moved, and the kind of fatigue that makes you stare at nothing and still feel exhausted. Most days, I got home around 6:20 or 6:30, and that mattered because I had started going to the gym, not casually. Seriously, I had this feeling, this quiet fear, that if I didn't take control of something, anything, my life would just become work, sleep, and one day I'd wake up 10 years older with nothing to show but stress. So I joined a local gym near a strip of restaurants and small retail stores. Nothing fancy, no influencer vibe, no neon slogans, just a clean space, weights, treadmills, and a group training class that ran like clockwork. The class was run by one instructor. His name was Evan, and he had this calm, focused way of pushing people without humiliating them. It wasn't just work harder, it was structure, progression, discipline, and I loved it. The problem? The class started at 6:30 p.m., sharp. Not 6:35, not whenever people arrive. 6:30. The warm-up was part of it. If you missed it, Evan would still let you join, but you'd feel the difference, like you walked into a movie 5 minutes late and had to pretend you understood the plot. On gym days, when my dad didn't need the family car, I drove myself to the gym because it was the only way I even had a chance of making the 6:30 class. The first week, I made it on time twice. The other days, I was late. Sometimes I'd rush in at 6:37, trying to smile like it wasn't a big deal, but my face would be hot with embarrassment and my shirt would cling to my back like I'd run the entire way. Once I arrived at 6:45 and Evan gave me a look, not angry, just disappointed, and said, "You okay, man?" And I hated that I cared so much. I wasn't late because I was lazy. I was late because life was eating my time. At home, my mom would ask, "Why are you rushing? You're already tired." My dad would shrug and say, "That's work. You have to adjust." And that's what made it worse. Because work wasn't adjustable, the gym was the only thing that felt like it was mine. So I started looking for ways to gain time back. At first, I tried small things, packing my gym bag the night before, wearing my workout clothes under my jacket, eating earlier so I didn't waste time. I even tried talking to my manager once, casually, like I wasn't asking for anything. "Hey, just wondering, if I'm done with tasks, is it okay if I head out on time?" He smiled like he understood, then hit me with, "We'll see. It depends on the workload." That was intern language for, "Don't push it." So I did what everyone does when they can't change the big thing. I started trying to cheat the small thing. The main road to the gym was simple, but it was a trap. It was lined with traffic lights that were always red at the wrong time, and the gym parking lot, it wasn't impossible, just irritating. That kind of parking situation where you either found a spot instantly or you spent 3 minutes circling like a vulture. One evening, stuck at a red light while driving to the gym, watching the time tick towards 6:30, I noticed something I'd never paid attention to before. Behind an office building near the gym was a narrow service road, not the kind you drive down unless you're lost or delivering something. It was half hidden by dumpsters and a tall wooden fence. At the end of that service road, I saw a path, a skinny, worn trail that cut behind the property line and disappeared into trees. It didn't look like an official walking trail with signs and benches. It looked like something people used because it existed. I kept noticing it after that, on different days, different angles, and the weird thing was, the closer it got to dusk, the less anyone was around that backside. It wasn't a bad area. It wasn't graffiti covered or obviously dangerous. It was just avoided. That planted a thought in my head. If that path connected behind the buildings, maybe it came out closer to the gym. Maybe I could park in the back where nobody parks and walk through and save time. At first, I didn't do it. I told myself it was dumb. Then, one Tuesday, everything went wrong. I got stuck in a late call. Then the bus was delayed. Then the train doors held for some reason. Then the traffic near my neighborhood slowed down like the whole world decided to move in syrup. By the time I pulled into the area near the gym, my phone read 6:29, and something inside me snapped, not in an angry way, more like desperation. I turned into the back service road. It was quieter there, like stepping behind a stage. The lights were dimmer. The air smelled faintly of cardboard and cold concrete. I parked near a closed storefront, locked the car, and grabbed my gym bag. Then I stood there for a second, staring at the path. I remember thinking, if this is stupid, it's my fault. But I also remember thinking, if this works, I can finally breathe. So I walked. At first, the trail wasn't dramatic. It was just dirt packed down by footsteps, gravel in places, and weeds that brushed your shoes. Trees bordered both sides like a corridor. Bushes were thick enough that you couldn't see far off to the side. The deeper I went, the quieter everything became. No cars, no distant voices. Even the city hum felt muted. And that's when I noticed the house. It wasn't visible at the start. It appeared gradually, like the trees were hiding it. A small structure sitting just off to the right, slightly back from the trail. Compact, one story. The kind of place that looked like it had been built for a purpose and then abandoned. There was no driveway, no lights, no sign of anyone living there. The window facing the path was large, almost too large for a place that size, and the glass looked slightly frosted, like it had been filmed over with age or grime. The blinds were down. I slowed without meaning to. It made no sense. Why would a house be here? Who owned it? Why did it feel like this place was trying to stay hidden? I told myself, maybe it's part of the property. Maybe it's a storage building. And then, as I passed it, I heard my name. Soft, almost like someone testing it. Joseph. The voice sounded feminine, young, low, uncertain, like it wasn't sure I was really there. I stopped so fast my shoulder strap slid down my arm. The sound wasn't in the distance. It wasn't carried on wind. It felt close enough to make my skin tighten. I looked left, then right, nothing. The trail behind me was empty. I stared at the house. The window didn't move. The blinds didn't shift. No shadow passed behind the glass. The door handle looked dull and unmoved, like it hadn't been touched in a long time. My brain scrambled for logic, fatigue, stress. My mind is playing tricks. I even checked my phone like that would ground me, like the brightness and the familiar screen could prove reality was normal. I stood there long enough to feel ridiculous. Then I forced myself forward. But the rest of the walk, something had changed. I felt watched, not like someone's following me, more like the air itself was paying attention. I turned around twice, half expecting to see a person on the trail. I didn't. The path stayed empty, silent, innocent. When I finally reached the gym side, the sound of traffic and the glow of lights felt strange, like I was stepping back into the world after being underwater. I checked the time. I had saved about 15 minutes. I made it to class with seconds to spare. Evan nodded at me. Cutting it close, I laughed. Yeah, but I made it. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is how I'll fix it. That night, the workout felt off. Not physically, mentally. Between sets, I kept picturing the house, the way it didn't belong, the way my name had sounded. Careful. When class ended, I walked to my car the normal way, through lights and people and parking lot noise. And still, in the quiet gaps between sound, I kept hearing it again. Joseph. By the time I got home, I told myself it was nothing, but I didn't sleep easily. The next day, I took the path again. I told myself, if it was my imagination yesterday, it won't happen today. I parked. I walked. The trail swallowed sound. The house appeared again, and the moment I reached it, the whisper came back, my name, drawn out this time, like someone wanted to keep me there. Joseph. I stopped. My heartbeat didn't feel normal. It felt loud enough to be heard. I stared at the window. Nothing moved. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the house was listening to me. I did what a scared person does when he's pretending he isn't scared. I spoke out loud. Hello? My voice sounded wrong in that place. Too human, too sharp. No response. Just silence. I walked faster, almost jogging by the time I reached the gym side. I made it to class again. But when I looked at myself in the mirror later, my face was pale. My eyes looked like I'd seen something I didn't want to admit. That night, I promised myself, tomorrow, I won't stop. I'll just walk straight through. The third day, I got delayed at work again. I remember the exact moment my phone turned to 6:34, and I felt that panic rise in me, the kind that makes you breathe faster, even though you're sitting still. I drove to the back service lane, parked, locked the car, and stepped into the trail. This time, it was darker. Not fully night, but the kind of dusk where shapes lose detail, where a tree trunk can look like a person from the corner of your eye. The trail felt narrower, or maybe I was just more aware of how boxed in I was. When the house came into view, My stomach tightened automatically, like my body recognized it before my mind did. I kept walking. I didn't slow down. I didn't look at the window. I tried to treat it like any other building on any other street. But my name came again. Joseph. It wasn't playful. It wasn't curious. It was pleading. I clenched my jaw and kept walking. And then, bang! A hard thud against the window. I jumped so violently my gym bag swung forward. Before I could even process it, bang, bang. 3 heavy hits, like someone was slamming a fist against glass. I turned, and there she was. Not clearly, not fully, but enough. A figure behind the frosted window. A silhouette of a girl, hair loose around her shoulders, face hidden in blur. Her palm struck the glass again, leaving nothing visible but the motion. "Please," she cried. "Please help me. Get me out. They'll kill me." My throat went dry. My first instinct was to run. I felt it in my legs, in that urge to turn and sprint until I hit light and people. But my second instinct, my stupid human instinct, hit right after. What if she's real? What if this is someone trapped? What if I walk away and tomorrow I see police tape and I have to live knowing I ignored it? I stood there frozen between 2 versions of myself, one who survives and one who tries to be a good person. Her voice came again, cracking like she was crying. "I don't have time," she said. "Please, please." And I moved, not confidently, not bravely. I moved like someone walking into a nightmare while telling himself it's a dream. I approached the door. The lock looked old. The handle didn't even reflect light properly, like it had been touched too many times and cleaned too few. I tried the knob. Locked. Of course. I backed up a step, thinking, okay, that's it. I tried. Then the banging intensified, like she could sense me hesitating. And I did something I still can't fully explain. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my scout knife. I carried it because I liked fixing things, tightening screws, cutting packaging, small, stupid habits that made me feel capable. I knelt at the lock. I slid the tool into the crack, testing. My hands were shaking. My mind was screaming, "Don't do this." But my fingers kept moving. That was the moment a hand clamped down on my wrist. Hard, not gentle, not a warning tap. A grip like a vice. I gasped and whipped my head around. An old man stood right behind me. I didn't hear him approach. I didn't hear leaves crunch. I didn't hear breath. He was just there. His eyes were sharp and angry, not hateful, but urgent, like he'd walked in on someone about to touch a live wire. "What the hell are you doing?" he hissed. I stammered. "There's a girl in there." He didn't even look. He yanked me up by the arm. "Come with me," he said. "Now. And stay quiet." "Wait," I protested, stumbling as he dragged me. "She needs help," she said. "Stay. Quiet." His tone wasn't negotiable, and something about the way he said it, like he'd said it before, like he'd saved other idiots before, made my mouth close. He pulled me down the trail fast. I tried to look back. He tightened his grip and said, "Don't." We moved like that, until the trees thinned and the glow of the gym lights came into view. Only then did he stop. Only then did he let go. I turned, breathing hard, and looked at him. My arm hurt where he'd grabbed me. My heart felt like it had been running for miles. He looked exhausted, not physically, emotionally, like this wasn't a shock for him. It was a burden. "You could have gotten yourself killed," he said. "What are you talking about?" My voice came out higher than I wanted. "That girl, did you not hear her?" He stared at me for a long moment, like he was deciding how much to say. Then he spoke. "There was a girl," he said. Years ago, early 20s, lived alone in that little house. My mouth went dry again. She didn't talk to anyone, he continued. Never looked anyone in the eye, always seemed stressed, like she was carrying something too heavy. I swallowed. So she's real. She was real, he corrected. That word, was, landed like a stone. One day, he said, she was found dead inside. Overdose, they said. Drugs were there. Police came, took pictures, asked questions. He paused, eyes drifting past me toward the trees, like he could see the house through them. No one claimed her, he said quietly. No family, no boyfriend, no one. Locals handled the funeral because what else do you do? I felt cold. My mind tried to resist it, tried to find a loophole. So, what did I see? I asked. Because I saw her. I heard her. He exhaled slowly, like someone opening a door he keeps locked. After she died, he said, people started hearing things back there. Whispers, names, crying. He looked at me. And some people with good hearts, stopped to help. My chest tightened. They went closer, he said. They stayed too long. My mouth barely worked. And? He didn't answer directly. He just said, some went missing, some came back different, some didn't talk about it at all. I stood there, blinking, trying to process it. I saw you use that path yesterday, he said. I wanted to warn you, but you were fast. Today I saw you again, and I followed, because I knew what would happen if you stopped. You followed me? Yes, he said simply. And you should be glad I did. I stared at him. Part of me wanted to scream that this was insane, that it didn't make sense, that he couldn't just say something like that and expect me to accept it. But another part of me, the animal part, was already making a decision. The animal part believed him, because my body had felt something back there that wasn't normal. What do I do? I asked, quieter now. He pointed back toward the service lane entrance. Stop using it, he said. Tell others if you see them, and don't go looking for answers. His eyes narrowed. Some places aren't meant to be understood, he said. Just avoided. Then he walked away, not into the trail, toward the parking lot, toward light, toward normal. That night, I didn't step into the gym. I sat in my car for a long time with my hands on the steering wheel, just staring straight ahead like if I moved, I'd break something inside me. On the drive home, every shadow looked wrong, every streetlight felt too dim. When I got into my room, I tried to distract myself, scrolling on my phone, watching random videos, anything. But the moment the house got quiet, I heard it again. Not loud, not clear, just a whisper brushing the edge of my mind. Joseph. I didn't go to the gym for a few days, not because I didn't care, because I couldn't handle the idea of that trail existing behind the buildings like a wound in the world. I still went to work. Work was safer than sitting alone with my thoughts. Work had people and lights and noise. Work didn't leave silence for whispers, but even at work, sometimes, when I was alone in a hallway or the office got quiet after a meeting, I'd feel that same pressure behind me, and I'd turn. Nothing. A week later, I went back to the gym. I took the main road. I parked normally. I arrived late once. Evan shrugged and said, "It happens." And I wanted to laugh because he had no idea what "it happens" meant. A few days after that, I noticed something new near the back service lane. A sign, plain, white, official-looking, no trespassing, private property. It hadn't been there before. I stood there staring at it longer than I should have, because part of me, some sick, curious part, wanted to step past it just to prove something. But I didn't. I turned away, and as I walked back to my car, I saw him, the old man, sitting at a distance on a low concrete barrier near the edge of the lot, like he'd been there the whole time. He looked up and caught my eye. He raised his hand in a small wave. I hesitated, then waved back. He smiled, not a creepy smile, a tired one, like a man who'd been carrying a responsibility that nobody thanked him for. I got into my car and sat there, hands resting on the wheel, and I realized something that made my throat tighten. I still didn't know who that girl really was. I didn't know if she overdosed. I didn't know if she was killed. I didn't know if what I heard was her or something using her voice, but I knew one thing. That voice knew my name, and I still don't know how. Even now, years later, I'll be walking somewhere quiet, maybe behind a building, maybe down a calm street at dusk, and if the wind shifts the right way, I feel that pressure again, like something is standing just behind my shoulder, and for a split second, my mind replays that muffled, pleading sound from behind the frosted glass. Please, help me. And I'll walk faster, not because I'm scared of the dark, but because somewhere out there, hidden behind ordinary buildings and normal streets, there are places that only exist for people who are in a hurry, and whatever lives there is counting on that.